Okay, and so for this week, I thought we would talk about getting ready for tax season. So I definitely want to have an accountant, come on and talk with us one week. It's probably going to be later in the year when they're not so busy with tax season. But I thought we could talk about, even if you have an accountant, you still have to get a lot of stuff ready for them, and then going into like the property taxes as well. So I thought we would just kind of talk about all of that this week so you can go ahead and be getting that stuff ready. I am putting my disclaimer here. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a CPA. You should always seek professional advice from somebody that knows your specific situation and does that for a living. All of what I'm saying just comes from me having done it in the past. What my accountant asks for from me and stuff. So the first thing we're going to talk about is property tax preparation. And so this is the main reason I wanted to have this topic today. There are several exemptions. Texas has really high property taxes, but there are a lot of exemptions that you can lower your property taxes. Now, most of these require that, I think probably all of them require that you live in the property. So these may not apply to all investors, but for those of you who live in San Antonio, the homestead exemption is definitely going to apply. You want to file that because that's going to save you several $100s a year. And then there's all kinds of different exemptions for veterans and for first responders, and they're all very different. So you need to go in for the homestead exemption, and this is why we're talking about it now. The deadline is April 30th. So if you purchased a new home last year, you're going to want to file that paperwork now. Like, just do it now, get it out of the way. That way you don't forget. I've definitely forgotten before after I moved, and it just sucks having to pay that extra money. So just get it filed. Here is how you file it. So this is the Bear Appraisal District website. So it's really easy. It's bcad.org. So bcad.org. If you're an investor, you're living on this site. Like, this is one of your bookmarks because this is where you're going to go to find out who owns properties, how much the property taxes are, all of that stuff. So you should become very familiar with this website either way. But what you're going to want to do is go on to the Forms tab, and then on the Forms tab, you're going to expand the exemptions here, and then right here, the homestead exemption where the green arrow is pointing. So all of the exemptions are kind of in that same form. So you just fill it out. You can fill it out, print it out, fill it out, and just mail it in. And I don't think you can email it in. I think you have to either drop it off in person or mail it in. But the nice thing is you only have to do it once. So, if you move to a new home and you live there for 10 years, you only file it the first year. And then it just stays your homestead until you tell them otherwise. And then, so after getting your homestead exemption done, if that applies, you need to get ready to protest your property taxes. You're actually protesting the valuation of your home, but because, the taxes are a tax rate based on the valuation, if you lower the valuation of your home, then you're going to pay less in taxes. So that's what we're protesting here. The annoying thing about it, so you can do the whole thing online. I actually have a YouTube series about how to do it that walks you through it. So it's very easy to do. The most annoying part of it is that you have to have a username and PIN number that they only will send you in the physical mail. Like, you cannot call them, you cannot email them. They will send it to you in the mail. And so what has happened to me in the past is that, I bought my rental houses, and before I knew this, I didn't update my address and they mailed it to the house. And of course, the tenant's not going to tell you hey, you got a tax notice. That's not going to happen. And so, I didn't get the chance to protest it that year. I had to figure out that I needed to let them know, hey, that's a rental house. I don't live there. You need to send the notice of appraised value to my house. And so you need to do that by March 30th because they start sending out the notices on April 1st. I would do it well before March 30th just so that it's had time to be done and in the system. So again, we're going to go to the forms page, scroll down to the bottom, expand the application and forms tab, and you see this long arrow pointing at the change of address form. It's really easy. The nice thing is that they let you can just list all your properties. So if you own several rental properties, you can just list all of the addresses and say mail all of these to my home address or to this PO box or whatever. So, I mean, it makes it a lot easier. It's like a one page, really easy form. You do have to mail it back. I have tried emailing it in the past and it didn't go through. So I would definitely suggest mailing it. Maybe keep a copy and email it as well, just to try. But I think you've got to mail in the physical form. And so then after you do that, you change your address with the appraisal district. Then sometime in April, in a normal year, like last year because of COVID, they didn't come until like June. With the snowpocalypse, they'll probably use that as an excuse to send them out late this year. But they usually go out in the first week of April. And you'll get the notice of appraised value. And from here, I'll put my YouTube links in the description and then in the email that Katie sends the next day so that you guys can go there, because that shows you where on the form how to get that started. But just today, after we get done here, if you own property in San Antonio and you have not done that yet, like do it now, like right now, print it out, mail it in, just get it done, because you want to make sure, again, do that by the end of March so that you can protest by May 15th. So that handles your property taxes. The other kind of taxes is obviously like your federal taxes that we're all working on right now. Maybe some of you are overachievers, you've already done it. I am starting to get paperwork together because I am not fond of doing my taxes. So the CPA or DIY, I see a lot of people who don't want to pay a CPA, but the CPA is going to be familiar with all of the tax code. There's a lot. They should know how to do it. Make sure you get a CPA, obviously, that specializes in real estate, but obviously they're going to be expensive money-wise. You're going to have to pay them. In my experience, they usually save you as much or more than it costs to pay them. So it's money well spent. They're going to tell you things that you didn't realize. Make sure that you're claiming the right depreciation schedule. Make sure that you're doing the deductions correctly. If you do it yourself, you're really likely to make mistakes, especially the more complicated it gets. If you're just doing a 1040 easy, yeah, do it yourself. It's pretty simple. But once you start getting investments and assets, you need to hire somebody. It just gets too complicated. So for getting your taxes done, you still have to give them all of the information that they're going to need to file. So these are the things, if you're new and maybe you've just bought your first rental, these are the things that they're going to ask you for. So just kind of as these things start to come in, hold on to them, keep them organized, keep it together, because you're going to need it at some point. So your closing statement, that's that 2-page form where it shows all of the different costs of closing. So it's going to have everything on there from like the sales price to, realtor fees and property tax, the breakdown and HOA fees. It's the title company fees, that one that has that big chart. Just the 2 pages, not like the whole closing packet, because that would be, way too much. And then your bank or your mortgage company will send you an interest statement at the end of the year to show how much interest you paid. You'll need a property tax statement, your expenses and property management fees, and income. I track those in Stessa, which is the one that Bigger Pockets recommends a lot. I find that to work really well. It was really easy to print that out and take it to the bank when I needed to refinance things. And it's free. So it's, one I would recommend doing that, even if you just have one property. I used to track my expenses in an Excel spreadsheet, and then it was really hard to switch over. So just start from the beginning in something like Stessa. And then make sure you track your mileage when you go show the house or you go fix something, or, anything when you're driving around with the realtor looking at houses, whatever. Track your mileage. This was all I could think of. I would love to hear what other things that you've had to provide in the past, or other ideas of ways we can save money on taxes that you're familiar with. Would just definitely love to hear from you guys. And there we go.